L is for the way.
At Petfix Club, we want to make owning a pet the best it can possibly be for you and the one you love. Enjoy personalised online pet care at petfixclub.com. Start your free trial today. Love your pet? Join the club.
Hi, I'm Pete Wedderburn, and I'm here for my usual IGTV session. I'm telling you why I'm here. My name's Pete Wedderburn. I'm known as Pete the Vet, and I'm here as one of the co-founders of an exciting new website, which is called petfix.com, Petfix Club, and also known as petfixshop.ie. And Petfix Club is all about giving really good quality information to pet owners about their animals, helping people find a trusted way to find out the best way to look after their pet. As well as that, petfixshop.ie is an online store that we've stocked with products and accessories that I know are really good for pets, products that work, that do what they're meant to do to help your pet. And that includes foods, collars, harnesses, toys, dental stuff, all sorts of stuff. So petfixshop.ie. Anyway, today I'm really excited to be joined by Donncha O'Callaghan, the former rugby player. And Donncha, I think he's there now. Let me see if I can. There he is. Hi, Donncha. How's it going?
How are you?
Very well, thanks. Very well. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Listen, thanks for joining us. It's great to have you here.
I'm delighted.
I'm one of those fan people who's watched you from afar, running around like a total hero on the rugby pitch.
For me, I don't know whether you remember it, but I know you were doing something on the Today Show in Cork one time, and you came out with a beautiful little puppy, but I was more in awe of yourself than the dog. I was there, and I got in this nervous kind of panic and just ended up kind of just nearly something to you. So we haven't caught up, but I'm delighted to bunk on.
Yeah, but listen, I hear you doing the radio show you're doing. I hear it's been going down really well. That's a new thing for you to be doing, that sort of stuff, is it?
Yeah, it is very new for me, Pete. I'm incredibly out of my comfort zone. I suppose I've come from a sport, rugby, where everything is, judged in different ways. But some things, they're still important no matter what it is. And if you have a good team around you, it makes it so easy. And production team, and with Darren and with Carl Mullen as well, I'm so lucky. They've been fantastic.
It sounds like you're having great fun. I don't know if that's true, but it does sound like you're having great fun.
Yeah,
when you're on air together.
And it's I must say it's been very enjoyable. I know myself, I've loads to get better at. I've loads to improve. I'm really lucky to have an opportunity like that, but the way sometimes, Pete, when you just enjoy it and you're loving it, it makes it so much easy to want to put in the graft and the work. So I'm really enjoying it now. To be fair to poor Darren and Carol, their back broke from carrying me. So I think pretty soon I'm going to have to step up and bring something to the team.
Are there any parallels with playing rugby? Like, do you have sort of preset moves that you do on air?
Yeah. There is, and you'll know better, and even something like this, there is the nervous energy before going live, isn't there?
Definitely, there's something about live whereby, like, I don't know if you do much recorded radio stuff. It's not the same because if you fluff it, there's a way out. But
yeah,
when it's live, just no more than rugby. When it's live, you get only one chance to go across that try line.
And Pete, the thing is, no one cares about the amount of preparation you've put in during the week. If you don't put it out, a bit like a match, if you don't put it out in your performance, everyone's there, like it was all in vain. So you got to realize there's the bit of doing your homework, and there's also the bit of performing. But I'm lucky because I'm around two, the team outside. We've two brilliant producers in Grace and Kate, and to be fair, they take me under their wing a little bit. And what I like is they're ruthlessly honest with me with the areas I need to get better at all.
They're your coaches.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I fully know well that I need direction, so they're well able to give it to me.
Very good, very good. But listen, we're really here today to talk about your wonderful new puppy, Shadow. And I saw the photograph of Shadow. What an adorable pup.
Yes, he is. And Pete, as a parent, it is incredible. Before, my kids used to come in the door and they'd bolt over to you. Now they would stampede past you to get to Shadow. So we had been chatting for an awful long time about getting a dog, and I suppose with the lockdown and everything that went on, you want to be careful because just routine was different and our family was in a different stage. But I think now there's the level of responsibility for everyone to, and it nicely, I've always had, we've always had dogs in our house growing up. Jenny, my wife, not so much.
Yeah.
But I think there's a beautiful element when you bring an animal or a dog into the family. Just that kind of unconditional love is incredible. And
It's, do you know what? It's really, really good for children. Is it your first family? It's your first dog together, is it?
yeah, it is our dog together, yeah.
What age are your kids?
Sophie's 10, Anna's 8, Robin is 7, and Jake is 5. And
Yeah, see, I think that's actually perfect. I think when kids are less than 5, it can be quite tricky with the dog because kids just aren't predictable under that age. By 5, they have a little bit of cop on. You know, they know that they're not to go and grab the dog around the neck and hang on to them. They know that kind of important stuff.
Yeah.
And so that means that the dog is going to be much more secure. But as well as that, dogs bring so much to young people, especially. I think especially as you head into the teenage years. See, parents' love is really deep and unconditional. We know it's unconditional, but still, if your kid does something bad, well, they've been bold. Now, as far as dogs are concerned, you can't do anything bad. They will love you whatever you do. They just love you. It's utterly unconditional. And so for a teenager who sometimes, especially who feels maybe the world's a bit against them sometimes, then a dog becomes such a deep friend, and it's just fabulous.
Absolutely. Like we've, you know, when it comes to probably just keeping a bit of order in the house, if someone strays out of sight, there's the kind of naughty step in the utility room. But I went in and Robin had been playing up, but she's inside the utility room with Shadow on her lap, and the two of them in it together. You know what I mean? Making a bond on the step.
That's lovely. And listen, I looked at the photograph. I thought I was looking at a black Labrador. Am I right? Or
he's a black lab.
Yeah, lovely.
We would have always grown up when I was younger with either labs or retrievers, and just from past history, we just found personally they always worked really well with our family. They were active, and they had that empathy as well, which I think is nice to have. And there's a bit of rogue to them as well, which I like.
Yeah, that's for sure. And how old is Shadow now?
He's coming up on 4 months. So
4 months, okay. How old was he when you got him?
We got him at the kind of about 11 weeks in, 12 weeks in.
Okay. Right. So he probably had his final vaccine around 12 weeks, did he?
Had all his vaccines now. Starting to socialise him with other dogs, but I would take your advice on the best way of doing it, because it can be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I think there's lots of stuff that people don't know that they should know, and probably the most significant one is that there's actually a relatively short window for pups really being very accepting socially. So, and that's probably the biggest argument against puppy farms, apart from the welfare of the animals themselves. If a dog is in a puppy farm environment, it's in like a concrete kind of pen, only meets its litter mates, doesn't have any other experiences. And we know that there's a window of between 2 weeks and about 18 weeks, 2 weeks and 18 weeks. So your little dog Shadow is nearly the end of it. During that window, dogs are really, really receptive, and they when they see a new experience, they're much more likely to go forward to it and accept it and learn about it. Example I often use is if I had 3 balloons and I burst each one in turn. The first balloon, the puppy would kind of go, whoa. The second balloon, the puppy would already have learned, well, that didn't hurt, and so be curious about it. And by the time you went to pop the third balloon, the puppy would want to play, even though they knew it was about to pop, you know? Whereas if you did the same thing with an adult dog that had never seen a balloon before, it would be frightened every time, you see? So
young puppies are really good at learning about new stuff. And so what that means is that as soon as they're fully vaccinated, which Shadow has been now for 3 or 4 weeks, then it's time, just get them out and about as much as you can. And you have to give them good experiences. You don't want to traumatize. You can traumatize a dog just like you can traumatize a child if you're not careful. I know, I traumatized one of my children. I feel so bad about it still. When she was only about 2 years old, she came to the vet clinic with me. And I was on call at the weekends, and I had a dog had a foreign body, so it needed to have I think it was a corn on the cob stuck, and I had to remove it. Okay. And I thought, well, this would be really interesting for Anna to look at. So I popped her up at the end of the table and said, look, Anna, I'm going to do an operation. And so I cut into the animal's abdomen, and the steam came out, and Anna wailed.
Of course she did, Pete. Of course she did.
What are you doing to that dog? Anyway, I learned a big lesson then, but unfortunately, it probably was the end of Anna's career as a possible surgeon, because traumatized. So you mustn't traumatize puppies either. You just give them lots of good experiences, and if they seem a little bit timid, then move back a bit and reassure them, and then maybe go again. And the idea is a little bit of stress, but not too much stress,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're probably getting to that point, but it's just, I suppose, for us, it's just being able to be as active as you always would have liked to have been. With our family, we like to get out and about, and you're right, not to put Shadow in any awkward situations. If that's the case for him, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But you want to be introducing him to as many different experiences as possible. So things like men with beards, women wearing hats, maybe going in the car lots of times, even going in different vehicles, so that he understands just everything about life. Walking beside the road, and are you walking him on the leash yet? You're doing that already?
Yeah, we are. He's on his leash. Yeah. So,
do you have a harness, or do you have a collar, or what do you use?
At the moment, but I take your advice on the best way to go about that. We haven't had him on the lead that long, so we don't know how to do it.
Well, I really like harness. I think a well-designed harness is a much more humane way to control an animal. The collar is obviously around their neck, and so you have to imagine something being pulled by its neck. It's just not very pleasant, whereas a harness is more of a control of their whole body. Really what you want is, the idea is you do training every day with Shadow. I mean, and ideally sort of 15 to 30 minutes throughout the whole day. And there's some really good training videos on Petfix Club. You'll see them there. Just basic, all you need is basic training, sit, stay, and extra things like the leave it command, which is a fabulous command. What leave it command is, so if Shadow picks up something you don't want Shadow to have, you say leave it, and Shadow will drop it and come towards you instead. And that's just such a useful command to have. And these are really easy. Puppies like Shadow are really intelligent and will learn very quickly indeed. So lots of training is great. And it's all about rewards with food and with praise, and also, funny enough, with toys sometimes. Does Shadow have a favourite toy yet?
Yeah, at the moment, this is crazy, but he's picked out one of the kids' Smurfs, Papa Smurf. We got him an awful lot of toys, but just for some reason, he has just decided that's his toy of choice, and it's a bit of fun when he runs off with it.
So that's the thing. That is highly motivating for him. So if you're training him, it can be helpful to have a toy like that he absolutely loves, and that you only give him that when he does what you've asked him to do.
Okay.
That's all the drug sniffer dogs and the dogs at ports, which are trained to do things. They sniff out, when they actually sniff out cash as well. Do you know that? If you came in with 10 grand cash in your pocket, the sniffer dog would spot it, because they're trained to smell that volume of cash. They know that, and they'll nail you. But they're rewarded you often, sometimes by treats, but often by a toy, because they love their toys so much.
In that, Pete, I'll never forget, we travelled to New Zealand one time, and Alan Quinlan had brought an apple in his gear bag, and one of the hounds had sniffed it. Like, if you could imagine 30 rugby players that had travelled all the way from Ireland to New Zealand, I don't think the smell was all the best, but the hound was able to pinpoint Alan Quinlan's backpack and managed to out of it. So, which you're not allowed to do over there. So,
Yeah, no, they're very smart like that.
yeah.
And I suppose the other basic kind of training is house training. I would suspect you probably pretty much sorted that by now, have you?
Yeah, well, obviously there's a few times it goes wrong, and of course, and I suppose you take experience from your own kids, you know what I mean? Because it's very like for like, but yeah, he has been really good, because I think, and I shouldn't claim any credit, my wife Jenny has just, like all of us, she's just set a brilliant routine within the house. I think Shadow is starting to thrive as a result of nearly following and knowing that, yeah, this is what I do every evening, this is what I do every morning, and
yeah, it's about consistency and routines, really, as much as anything else. And by the way, anybody out there, if you want to ask us any questions about puppies, then please click on the little question box in the bottom right there, and you can send us a question. There's a couple of questions already. Somebody wanted to know Donncha, what breed you got, and I'll say again, Black Labrador, lovely Black Labrador. And somebody else has got a question about a pup being afraid of water, and they say that he's 5 months old and they don't want to scare him. So has Shadow been near water yet? That's a good one.
The closest he's been to is a little stream, but just and kind of knocking around, wetting himself, but not to the level of ever wanting to swim or jump in or get involved.
But what you just said is what this person should be doing with their puppy is find a safe little bit of water that's very shallow, and then do something with the puppy that the puppy really likes. So whether it's playing with a toy or whether it's just playing with you, and do it around the water and near the water, and they'll soon realize that it's not actually in any way frightening or harmful. It's unfamiliarity is the main issue. If an animal isn't familiar with something, they very easily get quite frightened of it. Do you use a crate, by the way, or do you use
only recently, because our vet recommended. He thought it was something that would benefit Shadow and help with getting that routine.
Yes, but and how is Shadow taken to it?
He goes for it, which will nearly take him back by, because you think, no, he's surely going to want to. But I, like you were saying, Pete, I think all of us, and even Shadow as well, everyone's kind of a creature of habit, and I think he's quite glad to have his space away from the rest of us.
I say in a busy household like yourself, he would be very happy. And the deal is he can go into his crate, and when he's there, people know not to bother him, and that's his peaceful time.
Exactly, and funny now is it's become the bar space for my kids when they're playing hide and go seek or chasing. So they also there and use it like you can't hear me when I'm in here.
That's very clever. What sort of food do you have them on, by the way? Nutrition is one of the things people often worry about with dogs. So what are you feeding them on? Dried food or wet food or?
Kind of dry nuts at the moment, and he was on a kind of puppy formula, and I'm quite into, just from rugby, I'm quite into nutrition, and I was looking at the protein value on the back of it. I was like, I'd nearly eat this myself. It's true. It's incredible, but he seems to be doing really well in it, and his weight is constantly going up, and I suppose that's something you learn, how much they're actually growing as well, and you take that into account, that he does need space to grow and time to rest.
Yeah, it's a particular issue actually with Labradors and other large breeds, is that they can almost grow too quickly, and what that can lead to is problems with their joints. In particular, they're prone to a type of developmental issue with their elbows and with their shoulders and with their hips and with their knees. And so that's why you probably know that you can get puppy food, but you also get large breed puppy food. So like in the Petfix Club brand of food, we've got puppy food, and we've got large breed puppy, and we've got adult and then senior. But the large breed puppy is important for breeds like Labradors, because basically, if they get standard puppy food, it's just a bit too nutritionally dense. And it means that there's a chance that they may just grow too quickly. And because they grow too quickly, then they're more likely to have joint problems. And so that's why a large breed puppy is I suppose, the ideal type of nutrition for them. I often think, though, that nutrition is an absolute science. It's a science. But, you know, so we know the optimal of what dogs should have. But at the same time, if you go to many countries in the world, you'll see there's loads of almost feral dogs living on scraps, and they still bloom and survive. Yeah. So nutrition is really important, but also people can get away with a lot. And what that means is people sometimes get very set on a particular way of feeding. They say, this is the only way to go because my dog's thrived on it. There's lots of ways to go. The main thing is that you're using a food that's a complete food, so it's got everything he needs. And if you look in the bag, you'll see it. It'll say complete food, and that you use one that's appropriate for his breeding stage. So for him, that would be a large breed puppy type food. Yeah. What are his poos like? I love asking that question.
Yeah, well, at the start, and that's why I looked at the protein value of the mix the first time I was there. This is incredible, like the waft off. Oh, but yeah, he seems to be doing really well in it. But he was on a high protein kind of one, but we've kind of moved him on to something, like you're saying, they're more appropriate for his kind of age and size. So not as bad.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear it. And the other thing, while we're talking digestive stuff, what about worms? Have you seen any worms?
Yeah. No, we haven't. And he just had his last tablet with the vet on the last bank holiday, whenever that was. It was a week before last. So seems to be doing well on that kind of stuff. But we haven't spotted anything like that yet.
So have you been worming him every 2 weeks or every month or something, have you?
Exactly, and we've been kind of tying in with the vet net. So.
And the vet's been providing you with the product?
Yes, we just check his weight, and then
Perfect. I think a thing that people often don't understand is why a puppy, young dog, needs to be rewormed so often. And the reason is that this is kind of bizarre, really, but nearly all puppies get worms from suckling their mother, because there are worm eggs in the mother's milk. And what happens if Shadow is a female dog, so a female black Labrador puppy, she will have suckled worms from her mother's milk, and some of those worms will have gone into a cyst-like version in her undeveloped mammary tissue. Then, in due course, when she became pregnant and had puppies, the cysts from when she was a puppy, the cysts in her mammary tissue will come out as little worm eggs that go into the puppies, her puppies. That's how it carries on. And so for that reason, in dogs like Shadow, the worms that Shadow suckled from his mother will still be in his system, in his tissues, coming out intermittently. So I did, like, just last weekend, funnily enough, I operated on, it was actually a golden Labrador. And again, it was a foreign body. The dog had eaten something that got stuck in it, and the dog was vomiting, and it was an emergency operation. And so we removed the foreign body. And again, it was a corn cob. And corn cobs are really common. Don't let Shadow eat corn cobs, all right? Because corn cobs get... No, actually, sorry, it wasn't. It was actually a peach stone. It was a peach stone. Corn cobs and peach stones get stuck. And the reason they get stuck is they've got this sort of corrugated edge, ridges and so on. They're rough edges. So whereas a smooth stone would just go flying through the intestines, corn cobs and peach stones actually get stuck very easily. Anyway, I had to remove this peach stone. And after I'd removed the peach stone, there's this hole in the intestines now. My daughter wasn't watching, actually, this time. I removed the peach stone, and the veterinary nurse who was watching, she went, and I said, what? She's used to this stuff. She said, look. And out of the hole where I'd just taken the peach stone, a worm had stuck its head up and was looking around. A worm!
Oh, wow.
So basically, and that dog had been wormed just 2 weeks previously. And it just was evidence to me of, you know, that's why you need to keep worming dogs repeatedly. And basically it's every 2 weeks till they're at 12 weeks of age. And then it's once a month forever in most cases, you know. Otherwise the worms cause problems, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the last case scenario we want.
And by the way, we sell wormers on Petfix at petfixshop.ie. But what I always say to people is what what I like people to do is we've got a parasite planner. We've got a pet planner on Petfix Club where you can put in everything you do with your pet, and it gives you recommendations based on your pet's lifestyle. And that's what's important, because, you know, there are some dogs that don't need to be wormed every month. If you've got an adult dog that lives in an apartment, that doesn't go outside at all, has a shelter kind of life, then you don't need to do it so often. So it's important to use appropriate wormers. And like in your case, Shadow, I'm quite sure is picking up everything in his mouth. He's a Labrador, you know, and I'm quite sure he spends time in the garden too.
Yeah.
And if he does, then he will be at risk of eating slugs and snails. If he eats slugs and snails, he'll be at risk of lungworm. And lungworm is quite a serious infection that can even kill dogs. So for him, he needs to be wormed once a month all the time. And for him, for lungworm, there's the only wormers available are prescription-only products that you have to get from your vet. And I'm almost sure that's what you're using if you're getting your one from your vet.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll certainly ask. But Pete, you hit a key point for me there, and I've always noticed that when it comes to either training or nutrition or different, there can be so many messages out there. You can chat to different friends that might have different opinions, but getting it from somewhere trusted is massively important, and not just going along with the latest fad or the latest things. Someone trying something different.
Donncha, that's my mission in life, really, because that's why I've set up Petfix Club, because I just know that a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of people do get. It's very easy to get mixed messages these days, especially online, and the trusted information is what I'm trying to give people. So regular worming is important, but the right worming for the right dog is what's especially important. You know, sometimes the wormers that you can buy over the counter, like a Petfix shop, sometimes they're perfect. Other times you have to use the vet-only ones. It just depends. Something else I was going to say to you was really important is fleas and ticks. Same thing applies. Did the tablet the vet give you, did that cover fleas and ticks as well as worms?
I'm not sure. It's something I got to check. I'll be honest.
Good checking, because that again. I think prevention is much easier than waiting until you have a big problem. You know, and so especially when you have a young dog, it's good to start off with kind of plan. So that you know that you're going to avoid problems, really.
Yeah.
And one more thing I need to talk to you about Labradors in particular, and this is really important, and that is exercise. Okay, so somebody told me that you do a lot of running. Is that right?
Well, I tip away. I don't do a whole lot of running, Pete. I do maybe 5K, and that's probably my max range. But I just feel good after doing it. I do it more.
Listen, I'm with you on that. For me, it's I do a 5K run 3 mornings a week, and without doing it, I think I'd probably be insane. You know, yeah. It's like it lets all the bad stuff out, and you feel good again afterwards. Yeah. I heard something very interesting now about this. This is really interesting. A New Scientist last week. Basically, when you're exercising, what happens is the blood flow in your brain changes, and the blood flow moves from the frontal, the frontal cortex bit at the very front, which is all your logical thinking, and it moves to the other parts of the brain. And so your thinking brain isn't as active when you're exercising. And that is why people have great ideas sometimes when they're exercising. I'm sure we all do, don't we? We all forget, yeah, that's it. It's because exercise actually it bolsters the creative bits of your brain. That's how it works. And it stops overthinking stuff. I think that's fascinating.
It's amazing. And I notice it sometimes like that. You go for a run with maybe a bit of a problem, or, you know what I mean, a situation that you haven't worked out how you need to solve it yet. And after 30 minutes, you just have a little bit more clarity of maybe the way out of it, or just in a better space of handling it. But Pete, my wife, Jenny, every now and again will give me I think you need to go for a run, or maybe jump into the 10 minutes. You're starting to get tempty around the place. So,
but anyway, about dogs and runs, what's important that you know is that I already said that Labradors are prone to arthritis of different joints.
Yeah.
Well, what we know is that if they're over-exercised when they're young, they're more likely to develop that problem. So what that means is that for that type of dog, you're not meant to overdo the exercise until they're about 18 months of age. So that means, you know, I mean, yes, short walks, like, you know, up to half an hour, I suppose. And I think probably up to 5K is just about okay, but certainly no more than 5K. Because I can tell you, when Shadow's like 10 months of age, you will want to take him over the hills for 10K. You know, you'll want to totally wear him out because you'll have so much energy. But you have to kind of pull back a bit until he's 18 months of age. For that reason, because when they get bad arthritis of the joints, it can be game changing for them. You know, you can end up with a 2-year-old dog needing to have a new hip, that kind of stuff. Do you know?
Yeah.
So it's important to take that seriously.
Yeah, but Shadow, to be fair, he falls in for the morning school walk with Jenny. So it's about, in total, it's about 3K, and he's doing it, and he's knackered after it. And then I suppose on top of it, the amount of playing with the kids and maybe other dogs, by the time you get through that, we feel he's an awful lot done for his stage.
Yeah, that's absolutely plenty, absolutely plenty.
Yeah.
Donncha, we've got a few questions here. Can I just see what people are asking us about? Let's just have a look. I think if I press on these, they come up on the screen. Let's see. Yeah. This is for you. How are you sure now was the right time? What made you realize this was the right time to get a dog?
Like we said a little bit earlier on, I just knew, and it was mainly our youngest little boy, Jake. I think he has that empathy now, you know, that little bit of self-awareness that he mightn't have had before this point. And then Sophie as well, there was massive pressure. Our kids always wanted one, and it's a really silly thing, Pete. You'll get a giggle out of it, but I remember they came like a wave, like a little army that came in front of us, and they were like, "Mom, Dad, we'd love it." Rather than keeping it tight, that's a brilliant idea, and I could just feel the daggers from Jenny. Like I was like, "Oh no,
But
it's probably the stage we're at. We know that the kids now have the little bit of cop on too, and what I always felt when my mom, we took an awful lot of responsibility for the dog. It was up for us to clean up for the dog, to look after the dog, to walk the dog. So I don't think that's good for our kids as well to love or to learn. But the main thing I'm picking away, which I didn't probably give as much appreciation, is the love. Like, it is incredible.
And one of the things, I'm sure you might have heard this before, but children that grow up with dogs are more socially adept and they have more self-confidence than children who don't grow up with pets. And I think that's really interesting, because dogs they give us a lot in that way, do you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Anyway, we've got another question here from somebody who wants to know, did he stop biting and nipping? Maybe you mentioned somewhere else, did you, that he was biting and nipping a bit, did you?
Yeah. I think, look, I can only refer it to maybe like he's teething or something, but you can see that if I rub him, he will go for my watch or something, and he'll kind of nearly just bunks his mugs off it, nearly rotating it around it.
Yeah, they have a natural instinct to do that, and it's partly they just explore the world with their mouths. They can't use their hands, so they use their mouths, and it's partly they are teething, and they're probably aware that there's some loose teeth inside, and you know, it probably feels a bit odd, and if they chew something, then that dislodges the loose teeth, and so maybe there's something with that. You know, do you ever use a rope toy with him, one of those sort of tug toys? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And even my little girl Anna has all different games with him. She's got hanket with the blanket, where the two of them kind of grab the blanket, and it's a little bit of a wrestle or a rush with the brush, where he goes after the sweep and brush. But you're right, she's another game with the rope, where he just will love playing with it. Yeah,
and there was a theory a few years ago that those kind of tug-of-war games, it was you shouldn't really do it with dogs, because sometimes they win and then they think that they're going to be the boss because they won that particular game. That's a load of rubbish. It's since been absolutely decided there's no harm at all in playing those kind of games with dogs, and they don't change because they win sometimes. You know, it's just a couple, really. it's great to have games like that.
Exactly.
Here's somebody else who's Michelle Mahoney says, what's the best thing to put in a licky mat for a dog with a very sensitive stomach? Do you know what a licky mat is, Donncha? No. I haven't got one here. We do sell them at Petfix shop, but I'll show you what a licky mat is. Essentially, it's like a flat surface. It's made of plastic, and it's got lots of little kind of bubbles on it. So it's like a regular surface. And what you do is you put stuff on it, peanut butter maybe, or you can buy proprietary stuff that tastes like chicken or whatever. You smear it onto this, and what the dog has to do then is they lick it, and by licking it, by chewing at it, they get nutrition. And so it's a great way of basically making a little bit of food go a long way with a dog. When I say it goes a long way, it means that they can spend a long time playing with that, and it's a really good way of engaging their brain. So if it helps stop dogs getting bored. So somebody wants to know what to use if their dog has got a sensitive stomach. Well, I'm not quite sure, but I would suspect that the best thing is to, I suppose, find out what your dog can tolerate, because different dogs have different sensitivities. Normal bland food that we would think about would be things like cooked chicken and boiled rice, or cooked white fish and boiled white rice. So what you might be able to do is to make up a kind of a paste, like cook some chicken and boiled rice and liquidize it and then make it into sort of thick paste and smear it on. That'd be the thing I think I would try. Anyway, let's just see what else we got here.
Peter, I think myself be fighting it out on the licky mat.
Licky mats are great, yeah. Somebody's asked a great question. Apples or bananas? What do you reckon, Donncha? Apples or bananas?
Oh, I'd always go an apple. An apple a day keeps the better way. Isn't that what they say?
Well, here's the thing. I think they're both fine. I think fruit and vegetables generally are good for dogs. There's one you must know about, you mustn't give them, and that's grapes. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, grapes and raisins are potentially highly toxic to dogs.
Oh.
And the weird thing is it's just an occasional toxicity. So what that means is you give a dog a bunch of grapes every day for 6 months, never a problem. And then one day your dog gets serious kidney failure and dies. And you go, what the heck? It's because there's something about some batches of grapes that causes kidney failure. And so whether it's a mold, they don't know what it is yet. They haven't managed to identify it yet. But it just means the basic rule is don't let your dog eat grapes or raisins.
Okay, very good. Cork dogs don't eat grapes anyway.
Somebody wants to know any advice for a new puppy on a lead and training, lead and leash. So you've been training Shadow to walk on the leash. How's that gone for you?
We've only kind of started off, but what we've noticed is he will go, and like you were saying, Pete, you do kind of feel bad that it is around his neck, so he's nearly running in around the road, or down the park or wherever you are. So it's probably getting the balance on that and doing it right.
I think the main thing is, like other bits of training, is about being consistent, and having everybody in the household do the same thing with the puppy, so they don't. Also, I'd say again, the Petfix Club, we host some really, really good puppy training videos from Dogs Trust, and it takes you through every little bit. You can just watch the video, and it really teaches you well about how to train dog with that particular thing. So, but consistency is absolutely the main thing. Here's a one for any tips for reducing a puppy pulling on walks and running towards tractors? Well, it's not good to run towards tractors, that's for sure.
I like the bravery of that pup.
The most important thing I think for a puppy is the recall command. So, if your pup runs towards tractors, recall command is the way to go. Does Shadow come back when you call him?
He is quite aware to his name, but no, it depends. What I've started to notice is he's starting to pick nearly, like he will take his commands from Jenny, is what I've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sensible lad.
Yeah, exactly. So if I call him,
she's probably the person who's with him the most, I guess, is she?
Yeah, absolutely. And funny, we decided on the name before that, but it's quite fitting that Shadow is Jenny's shadow. That's the kind of joke with it.
Yes, yeah. Well, something else to actually think, while you're saying that, there is a little bit of an issue, and Labradors are a bit prone to this separation anxiety. And what that happens is puppies become such a shadow to their owner that if they have to be separated from their owner, they get really upset. And that's called separation anxiety. And so and we're actually seeing more of that right now, because during lockdown, a lot of dogs were like their owner's shadows. They were stuck to them all the time, and now they can't because the owner's got to go out. And so the dogs are going, well, I'm not used to being my own. So it's good for you with Shadow to get Shadow used to being not a shadow for a while, you know, to leave, sometimes leave Shadow in his crate and go off and do something else, or just leave him somewhere. Just make sure that he's used to being, you know, on his own sometimes. It's really important.
Yeah.
Donncha, listen, you've given us loads of your time, and I appreciate it so much, but I'm sure you have to go. Can I just say that if you have any issues at all while Shadow's growing up, or any time, I'm always here. You can go to Petfix, and there's a thing called My Pets, and then there's an Ask a Vet button. If you click on it with any question at all, I'll get back to you within the hour, because people often do have little questions about their pets, or big questions. And, you know, I want with Petfix to make sure everybody gets those questions answered promptly. So that applies to you as much as anybody out there. So please.
I do have one question for my kids, Pete. When I told them I was coming, asking, when is it okay for Shadow to go on the trampoline? So it shows the priorities. Anytime they bring him near it, we're there. Don't bring him near the trampoline. So they're obviously looking at having the fun.
Do you know what? I have seen quite a few trampoline accidents in dogs.
Yeah.
Because no more with children. No, that, you know, same. They sometimes love to bounce on them, but they can also fall down the side and get their legs stuck in the hole, you know, the edge and all that sort of stuff. I think the answer to that is with supervision, adult supervision. I think Shadow's probably ready now. But it's a bit like I said, don't overdo it. You know, like,
yeah, exactly.
Once he enjoys it, he could be bouncing away there for hours on end, and that wouldn't be good for him. So a little bit of bouncing is cool from now on. Yeah. All right.
Super, Pete. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. That was good fun, and we actually covered quite a lot of really useful stuff for people, I think, and it was great to have you talk through it with a real life sort of situation like that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
that.
And everybody, if you want more questions, go to Ask a Vet. I haven't got through all the ones today, but if you ask those questions, the Ask a Vet button on Petfix Club, then I will answer them very quickly for you. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, Donncha, and good luck. Continuing good luck with the radio show.
Cheers. Fingers crossed. Thanks.
See you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye now.
L is for the way.
At Petfix Club, we want to make owning a pet the best it can possibly be for you and the one you love. Enjoy personalised online pet care at petfixclub.com. Start your free trial today. Love your pet? Join the club.